Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update. The series What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge? What if Transmigrated to Medieval Pokemon World? What if creating the strongest Strawhat crew by reading manga? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 191, Messy Schedule, 3. Edward POV. After making a few revisions to the storyline, it was time for me to shoot the scenes with Taylor. After wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans, Taylor looked at me from top to bottom with scrutinizing eyes. What? I asked, feeling self-conscious about her gaze. She smirked and said, the theme is, cute boy next door. Not, sexy boy next door. You need to wear a wig. Over my dead body. I rolled my eyes at her. She chuckled and then moved closer before grabbing my arms. She asked in disbelief as she squeezed my biceps, why does this grow so fast? Is this because you kept throwing the ball around? Will it keep growing if you continue playing football? If it does, will it be a bad thing? I asked her. She thought for a while before she shrugged and said, no. I think it's cool. Great. 'Cause I don't think I'll stop just yet. I said with a smirk. We recorded the scenes where Taylor and I talked to each other through a sketchpad by the window. Then, I changed into a prom outfit and did the last scene for the bedroom where I wished that she was also there. Bedroom scene is a wrap, the staff member announced. Taylor rubbed her sore jaw and said, finally. I can't lip sync anymore. I chuckled and said, let's have some lunch before getting to the next scene of the car scene. Oh. Really? We never had lunch during shooting in my previous agency. Taylor said with eyes full of anticipation. I rolled my eyes at her and said, I'm not that kind of black company that enslaves my workers. What do you want to eat? She thought for a while. I don't know. What do you want to eat? She asked me back. I grinned and said, it's actually a trick question. The food is already here. We have some sandwiches and lasagna. She narrowed her eyes at me and said, you're on some dangerous ground, mister. That doesn't scare me much. I thrive on danger. I live for it. I said with some exaggeration that made her laugh. In the intimate confines of her waiting room, it was just the two of us, sharing a meal together. She asked, why did you fly to New York, just to go to Jimmy Fallon's, and not any of the LA interviews? Oh, I just like that guy. That's it. There's no other reason. I replied casually. Taylor raised an eyebrow and asked carefully, so? It has nothing to do with meeting Abby there? I froze for a second before asking, no? She hasn't contacted me ever since she left. Although. As I trailed off, Taylor looked directly at me and waited impatiently, although what? Although. I did meet an interesting girl there. Taylor smiled in disbelief as she felt that I was teasing her. Let me guess. Brunette, big boobs too? I made a shocked face and asked, how did you know? Wait. Are you serious? She asked in bafflement. I laughed and then told her all about Max before she sighed in relief. Then, she looked at me in dissatisfaction and asked, why do so many girls linger around you? Probably because I'm very handsome. I said confidently. Taylor paused before she nodded in agreement, that's true. Then, she stood up and took off the white t-shirt she was wearing, revealing her white bra. I was confused, and then she said with a mischievous smile, "Oh. I just felt that I needed to change for the next scene." "Oh yeah. The cheerleader," I replied casually, which irked her a bit. The brunette villain Taylor. She went to the clothes rack and took out the cheerleader outfit. "Should I wear this now?" "No. Not yet. We're shooting the car scene first," I said while biting my sandwich. She pouted and asked again, "Do you want to see me wearing it now?" The staff member came at this moment and told Taylor it was time for her makeup. She was dressed in a pink sweater and dark brunette hair. The next scene was simple. She had to pull up in a red convertible, and I would be getting in the car. The full scene was the nerdy Taylor and I sitting on a park bench before my current girlfriend showed up. Then, I left with the brunette Taylor instead after kissing her in the car. Take 1. Action. The assistant director said as I entered the car. Brunette Taylor grabbed my neck and pulled me in close before kissing me on the lips, hot and heavy style. Cut. I shouted. Then, I looked at Taylor in disbelief and said, "I thought you want to keep things PG?" "Ah. Right. I forgot. We should do that again," Taylor said with a mischievous expression. I sighed and then signaled the assistant director. He shouted, "Take 2." As I entered the car, this time, brunette Taylor took her time to lean in closer before sticking her tongue in my mouth. Cut. I shouted again. Taylor said with a smile, "What? What did I do wrong now? You take too long to kiss me. Also, we're only supposed to be pretending to kiss. We don't have to have contact," I explained calmly with a smile on my face. As if I didn't know what she was doing. If I had a lot more time, I would have played along with it, but I had a sense of urgency to finish the scenes as fast as possible today. At the very least, to finish the scenes that needed the studio to film in. Or I would have to spend more money on rent. Take 3. The assistant director announced. This time, while we were leaning in closer, a moth flew right above us. Cut. Take 4. Taylor's wig started slipping and her makeup was smeared on my face. Take 5. I couldn't open the car door. Take 6. Taylor and I sneezed at the same time. Take 13. Finally, we finished the 7-second scene, after 13 takes, and 1.5 hour filming time. No wonder Manny cursed at Phil when he won't follow the script. Becoming a director is really stressful. I muttered to myself. "What are you talking about over there?" Taylor called from afar. "Nothing. I was just thinking about something else. Brian, you got the close-up shot right?" I walked to the assistant director who nodded immediately as I asked him a question. After checking all of the recordings, I waited for Taylor to change her outfit back into nerdy Taylor, who was wearing a gray sweater, and sat down at the park bench. This time, the filming went on smoothly. The only things we had to re-record was Taylor's unconvincing look when I brushed her hair back behind her ear. It wasn't that I couldn't make her feel fluttery, but because she had to lip-sync her song at the same time, making it difficult for her to have a smooth transition. Therefore, I decided to record the entire thing twice. First, we just sat on the bench and talked normally. And then the other one was the one with the lip sync. It's 4 p.m. Damn! I exclaimed as I checked the time on my phone after we finished the studio recording. I asked the staff members after that, "How long will it take for us to film the scenes at my school?" "It won't be ready for another 2 hours. The staff member replied. "All right. Then, I will go home first to check up on something before I go there. Taylor, you want to join me or go with them? What are you doing at home?" she asked while her team helped her remove her excess makeup. "Nothing much. I just wanted to check up on the food." "And bring that Haley girl with you?" she asked. The staff members covered their mouth and their eyes lit up from the gossip expectations. I ignored them and said casually, "Well, I am going to her house." So if she wants to come with me, then yeah. I'll come with you, Taylor said hurriedly. And there will be no seats left. I paused for a second and said, actually the car can take 3 dash. There are no seats left, she said decisively. I snorted humorously before walking side by side with her to get to the car. General POV. Principal Brown had an almost permanent smile on his face as he monitored the film crew putting equipment and decorating the gymnasium for Taylor's music video filming. They put on streamers, spotlights, LED lights, covered the tables with colorful clothes, and even hired a DJ. Wait a second. Jenna was watching the whole thing and her eyes lit up. They are going to record prom, right? Elsa and Enid looked at each other before turning to Jenna. Elsa replied with a weird look, yeah. So? Don't you guys get it? Can't you think about what this means? Jenna muttered excitedly. Enid opened her mouth, but she couldn't give an answer. I don't get it. That means there's a party at school tonight. Jenna spoke loudly. The word party resonated across the hallways, and it spread out to a group of students nearby. The teenagers started clamoring. Principal Brown suddenly shuddered and turned around anxiously. Why do I feel like there's a conspiracy afoot? He whispered. Then he shrugged and said, must be my imagination. Suddenly, Principal Brown saw a familiar face entering the school while holding her car keys. Hey Mrs. Dunphy. He greeted cheerfully. What can I do for you today? Claire smiled and said, hello Principal Brown. I am here to pick up Miss Anna. She's not yet ready, so I decided to stop by the gym first. You know, I have a lot of experience decorating that room. It can be useful for them. Principal Brown was a bit confused. Claire. They are all professional. Probably even more so than you dash. Hey, it's Claire. Suddenly, a staff member who recognized Claire saw her and shouted her presence to everyone there. Claire waved excitedly at them and said, I'll be right there. Wait, how? Principal Brown widened his eyes in disbelief. Aren't you a housewife? I am the logistics director for Entertain Game Division. I worked with those guys in the entertainment branch a few times before, Claire said smugly. Claire's commentary. Did you see that? The way his face just froze when I told him my work? Damn. I really love my new job. It made me feel so powerful, Claire said as she shook both of her fists together. Then, she calmed down a bit and said, maybe I should focus on showing that side of me to my daughters instead of focusing on their boys' problems. Haley's commentary. I don't know how, but there's a rumor floating around about Edward throwing a party today. At first, I got mad because he didn't invite me. But then, I realized that there's no way he won't invite me, Haley said with a slight grievance. So, I know that the rumor is false. But then, people kept stopping me in the hallways and asking me if it's true or not. So many people want to have an Edward's party. So they decided to pressure me to ask Edward if they can join in on their behalf. Commentary ends. At the football field, the team was sitting in a semicircle while Cam was explaining to them about a few football strategies. After coaching for less than 5 minutes, he asked, is everyone here clear about what we are going to do when Ed gets here? Tyler raised his hand. Cam pointed at him and said, yeah, Captain. Thank you, Coach Tucker. I am the captain. Tyler hypnotized himself before saying, it's about the game, right? Edward wants to film it? Yeah. And it's all totally voluntary. He made sure to ask me to explain it to you guys about that. He won't hold it against you, or make your life difficult in the team, Cam said with an elated expression. He also said if you guys do him a favor, he will invite Sal to come here to give you guys a lecture. Tyrone raised his hand and said, who's Sal? And what lecture? Cam turned confused and said, I don't know what lecture. But I do know Sal. She's a good friend of mine. Jacob. You know something about this? Tyler turned to his left and asked. Jacob was sitting at the forefront of the team. When everyone looked at him, he scratched his cheeks and said shyly, "I know." Then, he stopped. Everyone there was confused. Cam urged, "Then, Jacob, can you tell us a bit of what Edward wants to do?" Okay, I will tell you. But Coach Tucker can't hear it," Jacob said after he was pressured by the team's gaze. Everyone then turned to Cam. Cam was taken aback and then sighed. He put his fingers inside his ear and turned around. "I won't listen." Jacob then narrowed his eyes at Cam and then said, "Edward wants to have a sex change operation." Everyone was shocked. "What the hell dash?" Tyler shouted. Jacob saw that Cam didn't have any reaction and sighed in relief. "Good. Coach Cam couldn't hear us." "No, I lied before." Well. Sal is. Is what?" Tyrone urged anxiously. "Well. This is Edward's words, and not mine." "Seriously. It's not mine. Just say it." Tyler shouted. "Well, Sal is a whore," Jacob said, causing everyone to be taken aback. He then dropped another bomb. "He wants to call Sal here to give you guys an education, after what happened yesterday." "You mean the pregnancy thing?" one of the boys said in disbelief. "Yeah," Jacob said shyly. Almost everyone there had their face turned red, and then they silently agreed to Edward's condition. "Okay. We will do it." Cam turned around quickly and shouted, "Excellent." "Hey, you were listening," Tyler shouted in annoyance. Cam ignored him and said, "You might have to go home a little late after this. So those who have a car need to give a ride to those who don't. Also, there will be some salary for those participating. $50 each." Jacob then raised his hand and said, "What about the team dinner? I know that he wants to do it today, but he's busy enough already. So, shouldn't we postpone it?" The rest of the team nodded and said, "Yeah. We can postpone it again." Why didn't he postpone it? Cam heard the question and replied on Edward's behalf, "I think it's because he felt a bit guilty because he kept postponing it. So he wants to do it as soon as he can." "That's stupid," Tyler said. Suddenly, his girlfriend rushed into the football field to find him. "Selena?" He was confused. His Latina girlfriend whispered to his ear, causing him to widen his eyes. Cam was intrigued. "Why? What's happening? Are you really pregnant?" Tyler looked at Cam in disbelief. "What? No. Babe, you can tell everyone." Selena chuckled and then said, "There's going to be a party in the gymnasium tonight." "Huh?" Cam was confused. "They are filming the prom scene inside the gym, right? So how is there a party?" Selena said with excitement, "That is the party." Everyone exclaimed in realization. Selena then added, "So I need to take Ty to go shopping for clothes right now. We need to wear the dress we wear to a normal prom." Cam became nervous. Did Edward confirm this? Has anyone asked him, or the staff members there? "It's fine. We already asked Haley," Selena said before she grabbed Tyler. "Let's go, babe. We need to rush. Edward will be here in an hour." Almost all of the team members left quickly to go and get ready for the party, leaving Cam speechless and alone in the middle of the football field. "Haley, what have you done?" Cam muttered with nervousness and fear. Haley's commentary. "I didn't do anything." Commentary ends. Edward POV. "I stopped by the Dunphys' house with Taylor while on my way to school. Luke opened the door and then immediately asked me, 'Hey, how did you get that eagle to land on you?' Taylor heard it and snickered. I was taken aback and then smiled. I don't know. Maybe she just loves me." "Have you tried standing on a hill and held out your arms for them?" 4 hours. Luke said grudgingly. "Come on in. Mom's not here. She has already gone to your school." Oh. I thought we were eating here. I asked in confusion as I entered the house. We went directly to the kitchen where I saw Jay was stirring a huge pot of sauce with an unhappy expression. Edward. Can't you just hire some kitchen helpers to cook for you today? Jay asked with a grumpy tone as he wiped his hand with a kitchen towel. I was planning to do that, but your wife, I pointed at Phil who was standing by the dining table too, wants to do it. Wait. So she forced me to take a half day just to take over her job? Jay said in disbelief. All of this won't happen if you had just invited her to New York yesterday, Ed. Jay sighed. I was confused, I did invite her. Manny said she couldn't go. He said what? While Jay was ruminating about the story, Phil greeted me happily and said, Hey Ed. How's your shoot? It was tough because someone kept messing around. I said. Taylor slapped my arm from behind and defended herself, It's you. You're the one who messes around. I chuckled and teased, Well, I've never said it was you. She rolled her eyes and said, Thank you guys for inviting me here today. Jay showed a kind grandfather smile and said, Well, you're welcome. What are you guys cooking? I asked. Phil grinned and said, We have all of your favorites here. Your assistant helped me write down the recipes. Wow. That's amazing. I exclaimed as I checked out the food. Did Randall work overtime for this? Or is he slacking on his job in New York? I asked teasingly. Phil smiled and said, No. It's not Randall. It's your computer assistant. You know, the one you hire to be on standby in your laptop? I was confused. I didn't hire anyone? Gloria suddenly walked in with an open arm, Hola hola. Edward. It's so nice to see you. Then, she gave me a big hug. Jay smirked as he saw her behavior and asked, Where's Haley? Haley is with Claire and Edward's teacher. They are on their way. Gloria replied. I checked the clock and said, Hey. It's 4:30. Can we have dinner now? 'Cause I'm starving. Everyone was surprised. Phil's eyes became nervous and he said, Wait. What? Chapter 192, Messy Schedule, for finale. Edward POV. Edward, you're feeling okay? Jay asked. The group finally reacted to my question. Jay teasingly added, Even for me, I don't have dinner at 4:30. Well, you should, Jay. I know you got hungry earlier nowadays. I added jokingly. Jay smiled and said, I do. That's why I have some snacks. As we laughed, Phil took me to the side and asked carefully, Do you need to go so soon? Yeah. I hate to be rude, but I need to rush to the school. I got 30 minutes, max. I replied honestly with a painful smile. I texted my aunt, but she didn't reply. I tried calling her, but she wasn't picking up the phone. She was still sleeping at this moment and couldn't wake up because she was too tired. I felt a little bad that I had to rush things, but I also felt that I needed to do this to prove something to myself. Claire, Sage, and Haley returned at this moment. Manny and Luke came in from playing in the backyard. Jay smirked and asked Manny in front of Gloria, Hey Manny. Edward called yesterday, right? What did he say? Wait. He called? Gloria widened her eyes in surprise. Her gaze alternated between Jay, Manny and I. Manny answered Jay's question casually, Yeah. He asked if we wanted to follow them to New York. Mom told me that she wants to come see my training, and won't miss it for the world, so I told him that we cannot go. Jay snickered while Gloria froze with a face full of disbelief. Manny asked Gloria, Did I do something wrong, Mom? You told me you don't want to go anywhere. Gloria smiled helplessly and then ticked Manny's chin, I papacito. I promised I'll be there for you. So I will, even if that means I cannot go to New York on a day trip. Manny smiled innocently and said, Thanks, Mom. I love you, Manny. Love you too, Mom. I watched the duo hug each other while snacking on some chips. I guess my eyes showed something I didn't know they were showing because Phil asked me with some concern, "Are you okay? Does seeing them bring out some memories?" "What?" I turned towards Phil with a face filled with disbelief. I was just enjoying the show. "Ed, we can have dinner now," Jay said. "Although Mitch and Cam will get mad that we have a party without them, forget it. It's fine. They threw a lot of parties anyway." I chuckled at Jay's remark that I completely forgot about other important people to wait for before starting the dinner party. Someone that was very close to me. Someone that I should have absolutely remembered to wait for. We all sat together in a makeshift long table created by merging two smaller tables and the dining table together. Haley sat on my left side while Taylor sat on my right side. Both of them were smiling, but their eyes were not. "Hey, what's this I hear about a party?" I asked Haley. "You tell me. People said that you are the one having a party at school today?" Haley said in disbelief. Phil ate the eggplant parmesan and said, "With all the Italian foods in front of me, I feel like I'm in the Godfather movie." I ignored Haley and turned to Phil. Then, I rubbed my forehead and then said something in Italian, "Come sai dice?" "How do you say?" Phil caught on instantly and whined, "I don't want to be Salazzo." I ignored his complaint and said in my best Al Pacino voice, "What I want, what's most important to me, is that I have a guarantee. No more attempts on my father's life." Phil leaned forward and spoke with a horrible Italian accent. "What guarantees could I give you, Mike? I am the hunted one. I missed my chance. You think too much of me, kid. I'm not that clever. All I want is a truce." Claire chortled and said, "Yeah, you're not that clever, all right." "You got that right." Jay added to the insult. Phil was speechless and I burst into laughter. I turned to Sage, who was being quiet, and asked, "How are you, Sage? Have you adapted to being a teacher yet?" "I don't want to adapt to it," Sage replied with some annoyance. "I want to quit soon." "Miss Anna, you're quitting?" Haley asked in disbelief. "Wait. I'm confused. Is your name Sage or Anna?" Manny asked. "And may I say, you're truly a gorgeous woman. I can't wait to get into high school and learn under your tutelage." Ed, is the broccoli hair serious?" Sage asked me with disbelief. I chuckled and said, "Dead serious." "Broccoli hair?" Manny was aggrieved. He turned to me and said, "You told me it was a good style for me." "It is. Don't listen to her. Keep it long." Claire chuckled and asked Sage, "So Anna, how long have you known Ed?" "Not that long." Anna said, "In fact, it's weird that I am here. I do like to do weird stuff," I said, causing Sage to roll her eyes. Phil smiled and asked in a friendly manner, "If you know him well, then, can you tell me how to win an argument with him? Because I have never won, not even once." Anna paused to think while I got goosebumps. "Don't tell him anything, Sage," I warned. Jay's commentary. He kept calling her Sage. It made me wonder if she has a difficult past. You know, that is usually the names of the girls who work in the dollar bill store. Either way, that will make her earn more money than being a teacher. Commentary ends. Sage ignored my remarks and then exposed one of my biggest secrets. "If you want to shut him up, then, you can just hit his head. If that doesn't work, then, speak about Uncle Iroh." The group except for Luke was confused. Luke turned to me and asked, "Hey, you watch Avatar too?" "Of course I do." "Yeah, we need to rush to the school now. Come along, Sage," I said as I tried to stand up, but both Haley and Taylor grabbed my arm and pulled back to sit back down. Now. We still have some time. "So Miss Anna, please elaborate about Uncle Iroh," Taylor asked mischievously. Haley added, "And please be as detailed as possible." "Yeah. All of us want to know." Gloria chimed in. Sage looked at me with a look of apology and revealed, Uncle Iroh, a character from Avatar, The Last Airbender, was the first positive father figure he has in his life. He grew up listening to all of his life lessons. Alright. So you guys know now. Let's finish eating. Wait, shit, speaking of dads, I think I had forgotten mine, I said with a complicated expression. Ed. I will make sure to watch the show after this, Phil said with a grin. Don't make fun of me, Phil, I said. He shook his head and said, No. You misunderstood me. It wasn't to make fun of you. It's to get to know you better. That's all. Haley nodded and added, Yeah. And if Dad can use that to win an argument with you, that's just a bonus. I finished my food in less than 20 minutes. Although I did talk with the family, we didn't really get into anything special and only teased each other for a while. I brought a plate of food to Alex, who was self-quarantining herself, but was nagged by her because she actually did that to protect me. Jay. Thank you for the food. It was great, I said after I returned to the dining table. Well, if you like it, you should come when I make my mom's special sauce, Jay offered. Be sure to call me when you make it, I said. Taylor wasn't really eating much as she was still full from lunch. In fact, she was startled to see how much food I could still eat during this dinner. She left after saying goodbye to everyone and waited for me in the car. Sage raised an eyebrow as she saw how rushed I was. Ed, a word, she said as she wiped her mouth with a napkin. Oh, someone's in trouble, Luke exclaimed. Claire was confused. Why do you think that, Luke? Edward's teacher asked to see him after. Every time that happens, it will be a lecture. That's so true, Phil said with a laugh. As Sage and I walked to the first living room, she stood in front of me and said, Surely you know why I called you here? To compliment the chef for the food? I said jokingly. I will tell Jay that myself later, Sage said in a no-nonsense tone. She looked me directly in the eye and said in a kind manner, Look. You need to stop being a people pleaser. I was confused and in disbelief. Me? A people pleaser? You seriously think that? She sighed and crossed her arms together. You may not care about people you don't like, but you do have the tendency to go beyond for people you like. I don't even need to give you some examples, because it's happening at this moment. She added as I wasn't saying anything, You may want to keep them in your life, but it doesn't mean that you have to make your life harder for that. They will understand if you just talk to them. She then mimicked my voice, but made me sound dumb. Hey Phil. I can't come to the dinner party today as I have to prepare for the VMAs. Or, hey guys on the football team, I have to record a music video today, so we should postpone the team dinner to this weekend, where everyone can make it. People will understand. And they will prefer that more rather than you spending 20 minutes with them before you need to go do other stuff. Look. The lack of planning was my fault. If I planned more clearly, then I said, but was interrupted by her. If you really think that the MTV people didn't tell you the rules beforehand was your fault, then you're dumber than you look. Hey. I don't look dumb. I was being dumb. There's a difference, I retorted. Sage chuckled and realized that what she said was being accepted by me, whether I like it or not. She added, Don't push yourself. Good times become good memories, but bad times become a good lesson. Right now, you still have some time to make a choice. Do you want this day to become a good memory, or a good lesson? I paused to think for a while before I shrugged and said, Well, you have already thrown what Uncle Iroh said to my face. So I had to listen to it no matter if I like it or not, don't I? She chuckled and said, Go meet your team. This time, actually listen to them and ask them what they want instead of deciding things for everyone. Don't shoulder an imaginary responsibility and ignore the things that can help you. Spoken like a true sage, I said teasingly. After she told me I was a people pleaser, it made me wonder why I had never been that way with my dad. It wasn't like I hate him and want him dead or anything of the sort. Rather, it was because I knew from the bottom of my heart that he would be there no matter how much I fucked up. Sage rolled her eyes and said, also, I'm going to need a ride to get back to the school. Otherwise, when you are gone, it'll be so awkward for me being here. I don't really know anyone in this house. All right. Let me talk to Haley. You should go and say goodbye to the family first. Sage nodded and left. She also called Haley for me. Like Sage said, after I talked to Haley about my difficulties, she told me it was okay and she could get a ride with Tara or her mom to go back to school. When we finally arrived, Taylor and I talked to the team members about choosing only one scene to shoot for today. We could do the cheerleading/football scenes, or the prom scenes. We chose the party. Tyler shouted. The entire team jumped and cheered while I shook my head in disbelief. It wasn't that surprising that they chose prom because they were literally in their tuxedos and suits right now. The girls were dressed in colorful gowns, but none of them chose white, and they were linking arms with their boyfriends. Jacob. Explain it to me. How does this party thing happen? I asked Jacob, who was wearing a lime green tuxedo and was linking his hand with Elsa, who was wearing a coral-colored dress. Jacob shook his head and said, even I don't know. Jenna, who was the culprit, also shook her head when I asked her, as she had no idea what she had done. All right. It will be hard for me to get the principal's approval. But I will try to make the party happen. I decided to just go along with it. The group cheered loudly, and even the other students on the bleachers also cheered when they heard the party was happening. There were more than 200 people who wanted to attend the party, and the number was of the low estimate value. I called up a few caterers to supply some food. It was almost an impossible thing to do if you didn't know who you needed to call. But my dad's main business was to satisfy people's impulsive requests before they set sail on the sea, so I had a lot of businesses to choose from. We started filming the prom scene. When it started, there wasn't any more plot where the male lead rejected the brunette Taylor, and it ended with just the two of them standing in front of each other. They took out the sketch paper with the unspoken word that they wanted to tell each other for a long time on the word I love you, and ended right before the two of them shared a kiss. Cut. It was perfect. The assistant director shouted. The extras, which consisted of true students and some background actors, clapped as we wrapped the filming for today. Taylor, who was wearing a pure white dress and had her hair styled luxuriously, hugged my arm in excitement. Then, the DJ started playing some pop music, and the entire gymnasium turned into a dance floor. There were a few rules to the event. First, no camera allowed. Secondly, minors aren't allowed to drink. And that was it. Taylor went to change her dress to a more comfortable one because there was no way for her to actually dance in the white princess dress. Therefore, my first dance was with Enid. We danced wildly to some hip-hop song, shaking our arms vigorously, and laughed while seeing some of the students twerking. Then, I danced with Jenna to a chill song where we had a lot of fun playing stop and go with the tune. After Taylor arrived, the DJ played the song, "Two is Better Than One," on purpose. We slowly danced together before I finally took a short rest. As I sat on the table, Haley walked towards me. She was wearing a short skirt and purple dress that showed quite a bit of cleavage. I was shocked and took off my jacket before putting it on her quickly as people kept staring at her. Honestly, her outfit wasn't even the sluttiest one there. I narrowed my eyes at her and scolded, "What are you wearing? Do you think it's easy to find a dress that fits me so well just a few hours before a party?" She scolded me back. I was taken aback and said, "You can use your mom's dress." She lost that argument and then decided to tease, "Well, if I did wear her dress, then you won't pay any attention to me, won't you?" Hey! I will pay attention to you no matter what you're wearing. Or not wearing, I said with a sly smirk. She rolled her eyes but had a smile on her face. "I need to know something." She looked me in the eye and leaned her body closer to mine. "Shoot," I replied. "Why did you decide to have a dinner party with my family today?" It was so random that it made me feel there was something more to it. I snorted and then hesitated for a moment. I glanced at her and asked, "Do you really want to know?" "Tell me," she said in excitement. "Well, I was actually planning to destroy your family's harmony for one night," I said in a joking manner. "See, I had this plan where I hired an actress that I met before, and made her say some words about her estranged father that she never met. I believe that I can steer your mom and dad into thinking that your dad was her estranged father. Then, after thinking about it, I thought it was too much and didn't do it. But I had already planned the dinner, so that happened. I was a bit worried when I saw she wasn't speaking for a while." "Haley, you're mad dash. That was awesome. Why did you cancel it?" she asked angrily. "I want to pretend too. I could have said some lines to my parents like, 'Oh, I really love this girl. She's like the sister I've never had.' And then wait for the faces to contort." Haley and I burst into laughter after she said that. "That was awesome," I exclaimed. "Any chance we can still do that?" Haley asked. I shook my head and said, "No." Jessica told me that she actually felt uncomfortable doing it and was relieved that I had cancelled my plans when I told her. "By the way, you really got to meet her. She's like the female version of your dad." We talked and laughed for a while. Half an hour before midnight, the party was stopped as the principal couldn't legally let it continue. It disappointed a lot of people because we were at the height of the party. And I'm pretty sure that I would enter some news tabloid because of this tomorrow. I drove Taylor back to my house after the party ended and we talked a lot along the way. I thought that was what she wanted because she insisted that she could go home on her own and I only needed to drive her back to my place. "So, you want to go up to my room?" I asked after I parked my car in the garage. She giggled and then said, "No. I'm too tired. You should have just let me send you home." I said in disbelief. "I told you. I can go home on my own." "Well then, good night." She kissed my cheek before she exited the car. I sighed helplessly as I saw her walk away. Maybe she has already called someone? I thought inwardly. Suddenly, I saw her make a left turn and walk straight to my neighbor's house. Then, she took out some keys, unlocked the door, and then entered the house. I froze in my car seat for a while before I finally reacted. "Excuse me, what the foo-dash?" Chapter 193, Interlude. General POV. In the living room of Edward's house. Ted was walking towards the kitchen before Frankie stopped him and made him turn around. He's going to know. How could he know? Even I didn't know. I don't know how he will know, but he will know. Frankie crossed her arms together and tried to convince Ted. Her eyes were reddish and her face pale. She looked at Ted with a sympathetic expression before leaning towards him and gave him a comforting hug. Ted was taken aback at first before he hugged her back warmly. Frankie pressed her cheeks on Ted's body and whined, "How could this happen?" "Well, I was an alcoholic for 2 years. That will do some stuff to people," Ted replied. Suddenly, they heard the sound of the door clicking and footsteps entering the house. Edward opened the door and saw the scene of his dad and Frankie, his suspected lover, hugging each other, and he received the third blow for the day. Ted and Frankie distanced themselves quickly with anxious expressions. You know what? I have too much on my mind right now, so I'll give you guys a pass for that," Edward said with a face filled with fatigue. "Edward, how's your filming?" Ted asked as he crossed his arms together. "It was good. But, it wasn't finished. I have to continue that tomorrow." "Hey Dad, listen, can we talk?" Edward asked in a careful manner as he walked towards the two adults. Frankie gasped and whispered, "He knows." "He doesn't." "Stop talking about it," Ted whispered back. Edward raised one of his eyebrows, but decided not to react to the obvious things in front of him, mainly because he thought that they were trying to hide their relationship. Edward made a wild guess inside his mind. I guess her character was superimposed with the character Trish in Modern Family, therefore she is attracted to men too in this universe. Oh wait, or is it the IT lady from Community, anyways? Well Ed, you can talk right here, Frankie said before she took one step backward. Edward was confused and gave the duo an "Are you serious" look before giving up completely as he saw that they were purposely ignoring it. Ted crossed his arms together as he listened to Edward. "First of all, I'm sorry," Edward said in a sincere tone. Ted was baffled at first, then he asked, "For what?" "Forgetting about you at the dinner party," Edward replied. "It was hardly a dinner party. Phil told me you only stay there for half an hour before leaving. And you don't have to be sorry. I cannot make it anyway because I was still at work at that time." "No, Dad. They had to drag the time forward to accommodate me. So, basically I ruined the plans for you," Edward said apologetically. Ted smiled and patted Edward on the shoulder. "It's okay, son." Edward breathed a sigh of relief before joking, "You know, there's something good that comes from me forgetting about you today." Ted and Frankie were taken aback. Before they could react, Edward said, "First and foremost, I got scolded by Sage. She told me that I was being a people pleaser, and it is going to make me forget to take care of myself." Ted chortled and said, "All right. I love that girl more and more now." Edward mocked Ted's laughter before saying, "Continuing on that, I realized that I wasn't trying to please you at all." "Ouch!" Ted exclaimed with a hurt expression. "Oh no. That's a good thing," Edward explained quickly. "After some period of dancing vigorously, snickered, and self-reflecting at the same time, I came to a conclusion that I was trying very hard to please my friends and the Dunphys because I wanted them to not abandon me. It's like my mind is pressuring me to do it so that they will like you and want to keep you around," Edward said honestly but with a joking tone. Then, he smirked, "I know what you're thinking right now, I should tell this to Linda in therapy, but my mind is quite a mess at the moment, so I need to get one of the things out of the way so that there's room to compute the other issues I have." Frankie muttered in a low voice, "I should have given you guys some space. Now, it's awkward for me to leave in the middle of it, and also awkward for me to listen to it." Edward heard her monologue and turned his eyes to her for a moment to say, "I heard that. Also, it's fine, Frankie. You're among the adults that I trust, and I know that you don't have the tendency to gossip." Ted nodded in agreement while Frankie smiled helplessly. Frankie's trait of not speaking about her life easily to other people made her a close confidant of the family. Therefore Edward wasn't bothered by her presence. Ted asked, "Okay. What does a realization about being a people pleaser have to do with not trying to please me?" "It has everything to do with you. You see, it means that I trust you 100% to stay by my side even after every single challenge that the world would throw at me," Edward said with a sly smile. "So congrats, Dad. Your position is very solid in my heart." Ted experienced a lot of emotions in a short amount of time. Then, he suddenly hugged Edward and said, "Thank you, son." "You're welcome, Dad. Stay in my life for a long, long time, alright?" "I will try," Ted replied as he released his son. Edward became confused, then he scoffed, "What a weird reply. Alright, I'll leave you two lovebirds alone. I need to figure out when the hell Taylor moved next door, and why she didn't tell me, or why I didn't know about it." "Oh. Wait. You don't know?" Ted asked in disbelief. Then he smirked and teased, "Even I know about it." Edward was baffled. His face froze for a while. Then, he had an angry outburst, "Then why the hell didn't you tell me anything?" "You know what? I take back everything nice I said about you today." He then ran upstairs while Ted laughed at him. Edward was annoyed and shouted, "Frankie, you can find much better guys than him. We're not dating." Frankie stammered to defend herself, but Edward was already gone. Frankie and Ted turned towards each other with a complicated expression. But before they could talk, suddenly they heard sounds of rapid descending footsteps as Edward ran downstairs again. "I forgot my laptop in the lab, but I am still storming off." "Ah, you didn't come back to get a hug from your dear old dad?" Explode! Edward said in an annoyed manner before he entered the basement lab and got back upstairs in less than 20 seconds. Ted just chuckled at his behavior and muttered, "Teenagers. Their mood can go from the complete opposite in just seconds." Frankie nodded and said, "That's normal. Him being too mature is the abnormal part." Seeing him like this made me feel quite happy for him. But Ted stopped her quickly. "I know. But nothing is confirmed yet. So, let me enjoy this feeling first. If I went to the doctor tomorrow, and he told me it is what I think it is, then I will have today's happy memory to get me through it." Edward POV. After putting my laptop on the desk next to my bed, I jumped on the bed and laid down on my back while covering my eyes with my arm. Why is she here? Why didn't I go and confront her? Am I experiencing Psycho Taylor? Then, I sat up with a tiresome grunt and then picked up my guitar before laying down on the bed again, but with my feet touching the floor. I strummed the guitar and sang slowly, "Oh shit, sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho." It was the most lethargic singing I had ever done. And right now, I was too tired to care. And now she's screaming, "I'm on my mind." I thought about her face and body, then I sang, "Oh, she's hot but a psycho, so let but she's right though. And now she's screaming, I'm on my mind." I then sighed and stopped singing for a while. Then, I decided to vent a little. Ryan Mac cover, remix, Overwhelmed. I sat on the bed and then took a deep breath. /N, first time he sang without an audience.
I get overwhelmed so easily. My anxiety creeps inside of me, makes it hard to breathe. What's come over me feels like I'm somebody else.
The beats quickened, so did my stress level as I was singing this. However, it also soothed me at the same time.
I get overwhelmed so easily. My anxiety creeps inside of me, makes it hard to breathe. What's come over me feels like I'm somebody else.
I sang as if I was venting to someone. Tonight, I was tired, anxious, and also very stressed out.
I get overwhelmed in my mind, late at night, overthinking everything in my life. Just wondering if I'm doing anything right. All these demons inside start to really come alive. Oh my, I get anxious and I don't know why. I can hear my dreams calling me, but all these doubts are haunting me. Oh, why is it always right before I fall asleep? Did I get overwhelmed so easily? My anxiety creeps inside of me, makes it hard to breathe. What's come over me feels like I'm somebody else. I get overwhelmed. Would you look at that? Another person telling me that I should just relax, calm down and take it easy. Everything will be okay. Yeah, sure, cause that's what they all say. But oh, my mind, he's really my friend. Sometimes I can hear my dreams calling me, but all these thoughts are haunting me. Oh, why is it always right before I fall asleep? Did I get overwhelmed so easily? My anxiety creeps inside of me, makes it hard to breathe. What's come over me feels like I'm somebody else. I get overwhelmed.
As I stopped singing, I was baffled when I suddenly heard applause sounds coming from my laptop. What the dash? I'm sorry for interrupting. It just seems appropriate for me to play that sound after you finished singing, a female robotic AI voice spoke. My eyes lit up and I rushed to the laptop. It's done. My AI is online. Hello. My lips curled upwards before I burst into laughter. Hello. Wait, you need a name. I was shaking in anticipation as I was looking forward to this moment. However, her response doused my excitement. My name has already been selected. I am Radhata. Nice to meet you, Edward Newgate, sir. I was confused. Radhata? Wait, how did you get your name? Phil's information and also social media accounts popped up on the screen. Radhata replied, Sir Phil Dunphy helped me to decide on a name after I was created. Would you like to see our interaction that I saved for analysis? I nodded and said, okay. Play it. The AI has access to my laptop camera as per my specifications. I created her, therefore I knew every single function that she has and her current capabilities. Creating an AI honestly made me feel like I was truly a proper transmigrated person. The ramifications of this to my acceptance and integration to the world would be truly adverse, but I didn't realize that yet. All of my problems had disappeared at this moment as I was witnessing the birth of my child. Her current capabilities had already surpassed the GPT AIs in my previous world, despite being made in just a modified laptop. I had already planned to transfer her into a supercomputer so that she could truly achieve her potential, however it got backordered and I had to wait another 2 weeks before it would be delivered to my house. Oh. Phil thought you were joking, so he was joking too. I said as I watched the entire clip. I am not yet capable of understanding a joke, sir. She said. Forgive me. It's okay. You had just been born today. Mark the date on the calendar. It'll be your birthday. I said with a joking tone. And don't mind not getting a joke that was based on nuances and facial expressions. I know a theoretical physicist that had lived for 29 years old, and still couldn't discern it. So, let's think of a new name for you. I am wondering if I should give you a name that also works as acronyms, same as Jarvis. JARVIS. Just a rather very intelligent system. The fictional superhero Tony Stark has a way with creating acronyms, sir. I know. I used most of Jarvis's codes to create you, so I shouldn't do less than him. How about reliable and obviously badass intelligent network? So, Robin, sir? Exactly. I said with a smile. Understood. From now on, I will be called Robin. Robin replied with a monotone voice. I rubbed my chin and said, configure the system voice to VA Stephanie Young's voice. Order received. System configuration will be completed in 1 minute. Now, her voice was exactly like Robin, English dub version from One Piece anime. I messed around with Robin until 3 o'clock in the morning. Then, I realized that I need to sleep to continue filming tomorrow. Robin, create a file on holographic emitter. I will try to create one for you so that you could walk around the house just like JOI in the Blade Runner movie. I'm sorry, sir. I don't have any relevant data on JOI in the Blade Runner movie. Ah, right. It hasn't been made yet. I muttered. Alright, just the holographic emitter then. In the film, JOI's projection is facilitated by a small emitter device that is placed in the living space. This emitter projects the holographic form of JOI, allowing her to be visible and interact with the surroundings. The device emits light and creates a field that enables the holographic image to appear and move within a defined area. The technology behind JOI's appearance involves advanced holography and projection techniques, which allow her to appear as a lifelike and interactive companion. This technology is designed to provide a personalized and immersive experience for the user, blurring the lines between the digital and physical realms. I wonder if I can get Sage to model for it. Alright, continue learning, Robin. I will see you in the morning. Good night, Mr. Newgate. General POV. In the house next door. Taylor was pacing around nervously in her bedroom while biting her nail. Why didn't he call me? Why didn't he text me? Why didn't he ask me? Why isn't he reacting? Did I freak him out? Did I scare him off? He doesn't care. That F***king asshole. He must have another girl. Taylor shouted in anger, completely accusing Edward of being purposely irritable, and wanted to mess with her on purpose. She grabbed her binocular and then perched on her bedroom window to peek into Edward's room. His light is still on. So he isn't sleeping. Edward! Why are you doing this to me? She muttered with a choked voice. Then, she laughed madly and said, he must have been playing a joke on me. Yeah. Edward's a prankster. I guess he wants me to text him first. As she grabbed her phone to contact Edward, she stopped abruptly and then said in a nervous manner, but if he isn't, then I will seem too crazy and too desperate. Wait. He could be sleeping. Yeah. He was too tired from today, and was just sleeping. Yeah. I guess that makes the most sense. At this moment, Taylor saw that the light in Edward's bedroom had just gone out. Then, she saw his silhouette closing the curtain. She froze in her place, not knowing whether to still be in denial, or shouting to Edward from her own window. Then, she got mad and took out her sketch pad, wrote an unholy word on it, stuck it on the window, and finally went to bed. After all, she needed the energy to unload all of her resentment on him tomorrow. A few hours after that, in Jay's house. Swish asterisk swish swish. Manny was practicing his swordplay in the living room when Jay came down to get a glass of water. Jay immediately grimaced when he saw Manny there and grumbled, "It's 5 a.m. Manny, what are you doing?" "Oh, Jay. I'm just practicing for my match today." Waking up at 5 a.m. to practice is the successful man's way of winning, Manny said with an over-enthusiastic tone. Jay sipped his drink and then whined again, "Your game starts at 9:30. Go get some rest. You need to be at the tip-top shape before starting your match today. I can't have you wasting your energy on all this useless practice. Then you won't have any more energy to play the game." A few hours later, in the Dunphys' house, Claire was the first to wake up as usual. She made some breakfast for her family and then called them, "Haley. Alex, wait, she has a fever. Alex, don't wake up. Luke, wake up. We need to go to Manny's game today." 15 minutes after that, Haley walked downstairs in a groggy manner with eyes half opened and tousled hair, while still wearing her pajamas. "Mom. Do we really have to go? I want to see Edward shoot the music video at the football field." Claire sipped her coffee and said, "No, Haley. We need to go and support Manny. He's family." Haley grunted, "Damn that sword-buckling little brat." Chapter 194, Sports, 1. Edward POV. It was a nice and quiet morning. I sipped a cup of coffee while looking outside the window of my bedroom, into the direction of the window of the house next door. As I was reading some of the love letters, my dad walked into the room. "Here. I found it. It was in your aunt's room," my dad said while handing me a jockstrap cup. Confused, I took the cup from him and asked, "What's it doing there?" "I don't know. But it was powered with chili flakes. It's either she used it to have pizza, or she has some schemes." I had already washed it, but, he said in an unconfident tone. I scowled disdainfully and then threw the jockstrap to my bed. "I'll just buy a new one. I can't believe that she's still vengeful. I only asked her to take a shower." "Wait, Dad, as long as you're here, take a look and tell me if that's an invitation or rebuke." "What?" My dad was puzzled and he turned to look outside the window. Then, he saw the word, "fucking asshole" written on a paper and was stuck to the glass. He widened his eyes, then came to a realization, and turned towards me with disgust. He smacked the back of my head and said, "Don't be disgusting. Apologize to her properly." I was wide-eyed as I looked at him with exasperation, "But you don't even know the story. I'm sure you're the one who did a stupid thing. She's a nice girl." I scoffed, causing him to smack the back of my head once more. It wasn't a hurtful smack, but still an offensive one. While rubbing the back of my head, I asked, "Will you make it to the match today? We're really competing instead of just doing it for the sake of filming. A friendly match with the Seahawks." My dad's eyes lit up and he asked excitedly, "How did you get LA Harbor College to agree to a match?" "Well, their coach followed me on Insta. And I gave him a DM. He was glad to make it happen." I explained a bit before I asked, "You and Dwayne always go to watch college football matches, right? Why don't you bring him with you to the game?" I thought he would be glad to come to the match, but instead he looked a bit troubled and hesitant. "You know what? I'll try to make it to the game. I just have something to do first," he replied. I rolled my eyes at him and said, "You know, I have access to everyone's schedule. I know that Frankie took a day off too." I continued with a teasing tone as he widened his eyes, "You can come when you're finished with your day to go, but if you have a chance to go all the way and you stopped it to come to my match, just know that I won't be glad that you did. I will surely look down on you if you do that. He rolled his eyes at me, but he didn't protest anything. Then, after I showered and changed my clothes to a simple cat cotton shirt and jeans. The cat was making a high face from weed and there was a psychedelic rainbow behind her. It wasn't because I wanted to wear simple clothes, but I was still unsure whether my aunt had booby-trapped my other shirt, so I wore something that I usually never wear. She made me want to turn her into the cops by myself. I muttered with some irritation before getting out of the house. As I approached the house next door, I took a deep breath to gather my thoughts. I knocked on the door, and after a moment, Selena opened it, wearing an eye-catching top that immediately caught my attention. It wasn't just because the top was alluring or revealing, though it was because we both had the same cat picture printed on it. "Hey twinsies," Selena said with a smile, looking into my eyes and giving off a welcoming vibe. However, her expression suddenly shifted to one of distress as she realized something. "Oh, right. I was supposed to be mad at you. But just to be clear, I understand what you're feeling. Bitches do be crazy. My attention was then drawn to Taylor, who stood behind Selena with a clearly irritated expression. Confusion filled the air as Selena turned to Taylor, whispering to herself, "Oh no." The crazy bitch heard it. Taylor's frustration boiled over, and she couldn't hold back her anger. "Who's the crazy bitch?" she exclaimed, directing her words at Selena. Selena, seemingly unfazed, chuckled and casually walked away, running her hands through my chest as she did. "If you're over with her, call me." Taylor's jaw dropped in disbelief as she watched Selena's actions. Selena giggled, realizing the effect she had on Taylor, and turned back to her, saying, "I was joking." With a mischievous smile, Selena continued walking away, but before disappearing from view, she turned her head to look at me and pointed at Taylor, mouthing the words, "She's crazy. Call me. I can see you in the reflection." Taylor turned around and threw a tissue box near the entrance to her best friend. Selena's aim to defuse the situation succeeded as Taylor didn't seem hostile to me anymore. All of her anger was directed to Selena for a short while, giving me a window to explain myself. Taylor's gaze met mine, her expression a mix of anger, confusion, and vulnerability. She seemed torn between holding on to her anger and to take accountability for her own decision. "Last night was surprising," I said with a teasing expression. "I had to sleep on it for me to actually process what happened." Taylor crossed her arms and her gaze softened for a bit. "And then?" she asked with an obvious pouting in her tone. I don't know. I am torn between feeling creeped out, and also excited that you're right next door," I said honestly. Taylor bit her lips and her eyes reddened, "But you don't care if Haley lives nearby. I guess you're only creeped out because it was me." I shook my head and objected, "That's not comparable. Haley lived here for a long time. You moved in without telling me. And also, what happened to my past neighbor? How did you even get this house?" I narrowed my eyes and asked with a whisper, "You didn't kill that family, did you?" Taylor pinched my bicep in anger. I exclaimed in pain and laughed while I looked at her before trying to calm her down. "If you did, then tell me. I know an effective way to hide a body. I bought this house from them. Wait a damn second. How in the hell did you know how to get rid of a body?" she exclaimed in disbelief. I shrugged and said casually, It was one of those pieces of knowledge you learn, but you never use. Well, until necessary." She took a step back and narrowed her eyes at me with suspicion. I chuckled and grabbed her chin. "You look quite sexy looking disappointed." Wait. I was astonished with myself as I said that. It reminded me of one of Phil's philosophy, a compilation of life lessons he gave to his children. One of the rules there was marry someone who looks sexy disappointed, which was the embodiment of Claire. Taylor was nervous. What? I held my chin in contemplation and then looked into her eyes. "Nothing. I just had a thought in my head that you're marriage material." Her face blushed and all of her resentment melted instantly with that one short sentence. Her face changed from shy to angry again, to shy but with a bit of anger, then the determination in her eyes went out, making her look dazed for a second. "You don't think I'm crazy?" she asked hesitantly. I grabbed her arms and then tried to use the most polite tone I could muster. "Taylor, I already know you were cray-cray. We still need to have a talk about the whole moving next door thing though. But, I guess we can wait till tonight, after we finish up your MV," I said as I grabbed her hand. Then, I teased, "Now if you'll excuse me, while you go change, Selena invited me for a makeout session." She did not. She retorted and pinched my arm for the second time, at the exact same spot. "Awa!" I exclaimed exaggeratedly before escorting her to the stairs. "You can go change first, I want to tour the house. I'll come to your bedroom later." "Tour?" Taylor was confused. "Why?" "Well, I grew up next door. I caught glimpses of the place, but never entered it. So I want to see it," I confessed. Taylor was baffled, then she sighed tiredly. "I'm going to take a shower." "Sure. I'll wait for you in the kitchen," I said with a warm smile. She was stunned for a second before she smiled widely. She nodded and said, "Okay," and ran upstairs quickly. I went to explore like I wanted to. It wasn't that big, so I finished the tour in less than 3 minutes. Then, I walked into the kitchen, where I was met with a mesmerizing sight. Selena had apparently spilled some milk on her clothes, and she was taking it off at the exact same time I turned the corner and entered the kitchen. She was wiping her bare skin with a tissue when she saw me. She widened her eyes and let out a cute grunt before crouching to hide her body. "Ah! Why are you here? Why didn't you go to Taylor? She's taking a shower. Great show by the way," I teased. Selena grunted in anger and then yelled, "Get out! No, hand me that thing." She nervously pointed to the blanket on top of the rack next to where I was standing. "What thing?" I asked her teasingly. "That thing," Selena yelled with a blushing face. Then, her hand hits the edge of the kitchen island as she waved them around. She yelped and automatically stood up while holding her sore hand, revealing everything on her top half. "You have a mole there," I said casually. She covered her breast with her arms quickly and then gave me a deadly stare. I smirked and then turned to the blanket and pretended, "Oh, you mean this thing?" I shook my head as if gesturing it was obvious, causing her face to fall in disbelief. I grabbed the gray towel and handed it to her slowly. She snatched the towel midway and criticized me while covering her body up. "I can't believe you. I thought you're a kind kid. You're a freaking pervert. Hey, you're the one taking off your shirt when you know that there's a guest around. If anything, you're the pervert here." Selena's eyes shook and then she defended herself, "Hey, I didn't pour milk on my shirt on purpose." Yeah, I wanted to tease, then I suddenly remembered something about her. I looked at her closely, causing her to blush. "Perv? Have you been exposed to the sun for a long time recently?" I asked her. What the Selena was baffled. "Answer my question," I asked again. "Well, yeah, I just finished shooting a beach episode for Wizards of Weberly." I nodded and then put my palm on her forehead to check for a fever. Her head does feel a bit warm, but it wasn't at the level of her having a fever. "Have you ever felt weakness in your muscles? Did you get any infections recently that you had to take antibiotics or other drugs to treat it?" Selena rolled her eyes and then turned around. She wanted to hide her face and also wore some clothes at the same time, so she pretended that she was tired of my questions. "Go away. You just want to peek at my titties. I already have a good view of that. Also, I have a photographic memory, so that image will be immortalized in my brain forever, so I don't need to get a second look. Well, not that I will get bored of it, but I don't have to do what you think I wanted to do right now. So, can you answer my questions first?" After 20 minutes, Taylor walked into the kitchen with a short miniskirt and a tank top while having her hair tied up in a ponytail. She sashayed with a smirk on her face, but her prank came to a halt when she saw me and Selena sitting together on the couch really close together. From her point of view, she could only see our head and just slightly under our shoulder. Taylor's brain short-circuited on whether to ask why she was only wearing a blanket, why she was moaning, and why her face was flushed. She stomped over angrily. "Are you Finn Jerry? Oh, you're massaging her hand?" Her tone changed quickly as she saw what was really happening. I raised my eyebrow at her and then said, "Yeah." She hid it on the kitchen island after spilling milk on her shirt. "Also, what in the world are you wearing? You know we're going to a public school to meet a group of horny jocks, right?" She giggled and said, "Of course I'm not wearing this. I'm just searching for my dress." "But, do you like it?" She turned around left and right with excitement. With each swift turn, the skirt twirled and billowed gracefully around her, revealing a little bit of what's underneath. "You know what? I am mad that you didn't tell me you're staying close to me sooner," I said with a solemn expression, causing her to freeze. My next sentence made her smile widely and sat next to me. "If you did, then we could have played a lot more of these games." Selena rolled her eyes at the blatant flirting before pouring cold water on the atmosphere. "Taylor, didn't you say that you will be gone for 3 months after the VMA for your tour? Where will you spend your Christmas?" Taylor and I looked at each other awkwardly. What Selena had pointed out was one of the reasons why I could let go of her decision to move closer to me before. We would not see each other again for a while, so why waste the time we could have played around with a silly fight? "Well, you need to go get a checkup after this. I'll see if Dr. House can take care of you." I patted Selena's hurting arm twice before letting it go as I was done with massaging. "Wait. No. It still hurts," Selena whined. "Bitch, you're almost come," Taylor wanted to blurt out, but Selena pushed her face with her hands instantly. With a blushing face, Selena stammered, "Well, what are you talking about? I'm not feeling anything dash." "Ah. Too bad," I said with a fake sad tone. Selena was baffled and then replied, "Not that it was not good. It was really great to be massaged by your fingers. I really love your fingers, ah damn it. Screw you guys." Selena ran off quickly as she was embarrassed, completely forgetting the fact that she was topless. Her hand instinctively pulled on the blanket and set it aside on the sofa before she ran away. Taylor was stunned while I enjoyed the jiggling view. Suddenly, Taylor's hand fell into my lap. "Ah. Sorry," she said, pretending that she was clumsy and couldn't stabilize herself. I scoffed and exposed her. "You just want to see if I have a boner." She smiled mischievously and then wrapped her arms around my neck before she said in a fake manner, "Dang it. You caught me. I guess you need to teach me a lesson." "Well, first, we will start with biology," I said before leaning closer to her face. Then, we made out for a while on the couch and did some light petting before she went to change her clothes. We finally arrived at the location after the crew had finished setting everything up. Taylor changed into a band uniform and sat by the bleachers while I was in my football uniform and was throwing the ball around on the field. The filming went smoothly on account that Taylor's bleachers scene took less than 10 seconds, and then she changed into a cheerleader outfit. She stood by the field, and while I was looking at her, she raised her pom-poms and started to dance. Gimme an E. Gimme a D. Her cheering was awkward and uncoordinated, lacking the precision and skill of others. I laughed out loud, which made her smile even wider. "Give me a WARD. GOO Edward." She shook the pom-pom on her left. Our interaction was seen by the football team and the students who took part in being the audience. They giggled and squealed before shouting their support at us. However, our shipper glared at those who tried to destroy the atmosphere and even went so far as to establish patrol to escort those misdemeanors out of the bleachers. Well, there's only one scene left. We've finished with the final bleacher shot too, right? I asked. Taylor turned to the staff member beside her. The coordinator ran towards me to give an answer. "Yeah. We only have the final football match scene, and the scene where brunette Taylor broke up with you on the field after the match." "All right. Taylor, wants to do something more?" We can use the hallway and shoot some casual scenes. I asked her, as she is the creative director. She thought for a while and said, we can shoot some scenes where you were the one watching me at school, and oh. Can we do that after the match? It's hard for me to squeeze into this cheerleader outfit. I nodded and said, whatever you say, my lady. She kissed me on the cheek for good luck. Stifled giggles and squeals could be heard from the audience, but no one shouted anything. The college teams had finally arrived, so I went to prepare for the friendly match. I walked to the college coach and shook hands with him. The guy was fit and healthy, with a head full of hair, and tan on his skin. Hi, Edward. Don't worry, we will go easy on you guys today, he said teasingly. I smiled and said, what? That's the opposite of what I wanted. Today, I want you guys to destroy this team into pieces. The coach was stunned. I added with an evil smile, if you don't break them, then how will I be able to build them back up in my image? Chapter 195, Sports 2. General POV. In a sports center 5 miles away from Palisades High School, a fencing match had entered its white-hot stage. Manny Delgado needed to win the match for him to participate in the finals, which will be conducted later in the afternoon. Jay and Gloria, Mitch and Lily, and also all of the Dunphys except for Alex were in the front row of the supporters' seat, cheering for Manny. A lot of things had changed compared to the original. From right to left, it was Gloria, Jay, Mitch, Claire, Haley, and then Luke. Phil was standing behind them to film the match. Phil was the one holding the camera, so he didn't get beat up by Jay from his overzealousness of watching his stepson dominate the match. Mitchell sat next to Claire, while she held Lily in her arms and kept sniffing her. Cam was needed at the football field. Alex woke up this morning, and felt that her fever had gone away, so she called her boyfriend who made his mom stop by to pick her up at her house and bring her to the football match instead of going to support Manny. As Manny initiated an attack, Luke shouted with a flushed face, touch her. Luke! Claire scolded her son with an astonished look on her face. Phil turned to Luke and corrected, it's touché. Claire turned to Haley and said with a grimace, Haley, put down your phone and focus on the game. Haley replied with an annoyed tone, hey. You asked me to come, not to watch. Mom! How long will this take? Ed's match is starting. Jay turned to Haley, who sat 3 seats away from him. It's starting now? I thought we had more time. No. They finished filming early. Haley replied before she shouted to Manny, hey. Win this now. Manny felt encouraged as he thought that Haley was cheering for him and then took another point from his opponent. The buzzer rang, signaling that Manny had won the point. Jay grinned widely and hugged Claire with one arm, Gloria with the other. All right, that's my boy, he shouted. Claire was a bit astonished seeing her father so full of emotion. She glared at Jay for a second and glanced at Mitchell beside her before turning her attention back to the game. Mitchell noticed his dad's excitement too, and he felt a bit dejected inside. Jay and Gloria's commentary. You know, I used to go to the houses of my friends, I'd see their kids' trophies, and it used to bug me, because there was never a trophy in my house. Not until this one, Jay said before wrapping his right hand around Gloria. Commentary ends. Phil turned to record Jay's reaction, causing him to turn his smile into a grimace. Put that down. Don't you think you have enough already? Jay muttered with annoyance. And missed the part where you felt proud of Manny? I don't think I can do that. He needs to see it, Phil said as he continued recording Jay. Gloria giggled and kissed Jay on the cheek and said lovingly, he really does. Jay. Jay smiled to Manny and said to Phil behind the camera, I know you're not supposed to care, but it's kind of cool to have a kid in your house who's the best at something. You know what I mean? Phil and Claire's faces froze. But only for a second before they smiled once more. Phil and Claire's commentary. Sitting on the couch with smiling faces, Phil started first, yeah, our kids are great. Claire added, they're the greatest. Gosh, we're blessed. We are. Phil paused for a while and then leaned forward on the sofa. I got to be honest, if Jay asked me that question a few months ago, I might not be able to answer it honestly. Claire smiled and said, well, Alex is great at every single thing she tries. At first, I thought she needed to find something she needed to focus on. But now, I just want her to be happy while doing it. Alex's change was not little. From a nerdy girl with an attitude, to one of the most popular girls in school while simultaneously holding the #1 student position, and to getting a boyfriend, Claire was extremely proud of Alex even though she thought that last part wasn't necessary for now. Claire added with a hint of concern, after I started working, I now realize how much pressure there is to survive out there. So, I will support Alex no matter what she decides to do. Phil agreed with Claire and added, for Haley. Well, she is very pretty. Claire commented, gorgeous, gorgeous girl. Her talents were hidden, and it may be because of our oversight. Phil said with some worried face. Claire nodded in agreement to him. But now, I believe that one day, the brand Haley Dunphy, a fashion designer, will spread to the entire country. Phil grinned. You might say I am dreaming big, but in all honesty, I don't think that I am dreaming big enough. Their smiles slowly turned as their faces became concerned. Phil turned to Claire and said, and then, I guess that leaves Luke. Claire fiddled with her fingers while avoiding eye contact with Phil. He turned forward and confessed, we dropped the ball a little bit on that one. Yeah, a little bit. Claire nodded in agreement. But then she added, however, I am sure that he will find what he's best at soon enough. As long as he kept being friends with Edward. Phil smiled and nodded. I remember Ed said that Luke has a perfect pitch, so he can become a musician if he wants to. Or an inventor. Or baseball players. He could have done everything, if he only put himself on it. Claire nodded and said with a worried expression, but we can't really force him to do anything he doesn't want to do. And it's hard to get him passionate about something. And what better example he has to follow than us? His dad, who is the top regional real estate salesman. Phil said with excitement before he smirked and added, oh, yeah. I have finally beaten Gil Thorpe. Claire hugged Phil's arm to show that she's proud of him. She looked at him with an expectant gaze, but Phil was silently smiling. Claire was irritated and scolded, Phil. What about me? Phil turned to Claire in confusion, I thought you wanted to say that on your own. Yeah. But it's nice if you can say it once in a while. Claire said with a little pout. Then, she looked into the camera and continued Phil's sentence, and his mother, who is the VP of Logistics for the Entertain Game Division, and also the Tourism Department. Wait. I thought you were the Vice Director of Logistics. Phil interrupted. It's the same thing. Claire said while rolling her eyes. Commentary ends. The referee raised Manny's hand and said, how about a nice round of applause for our winner, Manny Delgado? Manny now moves on to the championship, where he'll be competing against Caroline Markham. Manny turned to see a little girl bowing to the audience, and his face fell into contemplation. The referee continued, we'll see you all back here at 4:30. Now. I have a football match to watch. The middle-aged man scampered quickly to the door, leaving behind a stunned audience. Manny walked back to his mother who hugged him, Ay Dios mío, papito lindo, que belleza que orgullo la abuela vieja estar dichosa. Oh my God, sweetie, how beautiful, how proud, I am. Grandma will be overjoyed. She pinched his cheek. After she finished speaking, Manny turned to Jay who then said, what she said. He has no idea of what she was speaking about, but he knew it was supportive. Wow. This means more to Dad than it does to Manny. Claire whispered to her brother. Yeah, it's his chance to be father of a champion. Well, second chance. We all know how the first time went. Mitchell snarked. Claire was confused, wait. We did win. Remember that trophy? Mitchell's eyes lit up for a second before he turned helpless, yeah. But mommy oh moem. I meant mom. He stopped Claire quickly as he realized his own mistake. She donated them to the ice rink. Yeah, well, without our consent. Claire muttered as she got a naughty idea. We should go get it. Jay walked to the family and said, I want to thank you guys for coming by and supporting the kid. You guys are the best. Jay said before he slapped Phil's shoulder and squeezed it tightly. As Phil winced in pain, Manny said, Wait, why are we still lingering around here? We need to go to the football field right now. Yeah. Manny is right. Haley said with an anxious tone. We need to go there, right now. The opponent already has 2 downs. Ed's team is losing. Football field. The audience exclaimed in sympathy as the dolphin of the high school team's defense was penetrated again, and the Seahawks, the college team, made another touchdown. The score is now 20-0. The college team won in the coin toss, and they started as the offensive team while Edward's team had to become the defensive team. The difference between them was the possession of the ball. Without any intervention on the possession of the ball, the offensive team would keep their roles until the second half of the game. Edward sat on the bench outside of the field as he watched the game with a sharp gaze. Then, he signaled Tyler, who was in the field as a defensive lineman. Blitz? Are you serious? Tyler whispered as he looked at Edward in disbelief. Edward nodded to him as he was absolutely sure of his decision. Tyler shrugged and said, All right. Cam was nervous as he stood next to Edward. Are you sure they are going to pass? Yeah. The quarterback touched his right shoulder just before this. He will touch his left shoulder if he's using the wideout, but the receivers are already tired. Edward had learnt every single information they have on the opposite team. He even knew the color of the other team's captain's underwear. However, he didn't intervene in the beginning to study his own team's capabilities in a high-pressure match. Cam becomes dramatic. I hope you're right. Cam said. I know I'm just the assistant coach, but... Edward rolled his eyes and said, You don't have to act like you're in the role of an underappreciated coach. When I'm in there, we will need your help. Set, HUT. The quarterback of the Seahawks shouted before the center snapped the ball to him. The defensive line of the 2 teams clashed together. The quarterback passed the ball to the running back, and he ran past the defensive line. However, less than 5 yards in, Tyler rushed towards the running back and tackled him from his side. The running back didn't expect it and the ball fell from his clutch. Fumble. Tyrone shouted before diving into the fray with the other players. It was an opportunity for them to get the ball as the ball was in neither team's possession. If they managed to get it, then they could turn the offensive and defensive roles around. Get off of the referee said in disbelief as he pried away the human heel one by one. Then, he finally saw who got the ball. There was a cut on Tyrone's upper lip, making his mouth and teeth bloody. He spits out his mouth guard and smiles as he sees the referee. He raised the ball in his hand into the air, and the audience exploded in cheers. We got it! Cam shouted in a high-pitched feminine voice while raising his fists into the air. Edward smirked and finally stood up from the bench. He walked into the field as the quarterback, causing immense cheer from the audience. The other team's captain said in a wry manner, I feel like the villain here. Newgate. 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 The audience chanted Edward's name. Feeling a bit pressured, Edward equipped a fake smile and waved to the audience. He walked to his position and signaled something to Tyler. In the offensive team position, Edward was the quarterback, and Tyler was the running back. Edward stood just behind the center of the defensive lineman E. Jacob. Kyle, an emo kid with bangs covering one of his eyes and eyeliners, was the tight end who's going to protect Tyler as he ran his route. Tyrone stood on the furthest side of the line as he was the wide receiver. To explain it in a simple way, to score a touchdown, Edward has 3 ways he could use. First, he threw the ball to the wide receiver, and he ran it across the yards. Second, he gave the ball to the running back, either with a short pass or a touch, and he would run it while Edward helped him defend. The third way was for him to run it himself. He needed to pass the blockings and stop the tackles, which is going to put him in a high-risk position. Why? Because everyone else expects him to do that. Seahawks team coach signaled the defensive lineman to watch Edward closely. As Edward got ready behind Jacob, he felt a tinge of reminiscence along with all of the pressure. He smirked secretly before taking a deep breath. Jay and the others arrived at this moment and all of them turned their attention directly to the game without thinking. Ready. Set, hot. Edward shouted and the game began. Edward took a few steps back as he caught the ball. Jacob grabbed the opposite team's center and held his ground, making the defensive line stand strong. Edward hid the ball within his arms instead of passing it, stepped left 3 steps before running like an arrow released from the string. He passed the defensive line and 2 blockers, running through 20 yards at an instance. No! Ed! Watch out! Taylor and Haley shouted at the same time. The opposite team's captain tackled Edward from behind, and he fell to the ground. Nice try, kid! The captain sneered. But then, Edward turned towards him with a teasing smile on his face. The captain widened his eyes as he saw that Edward's hand was empty. What the he turned, only to see number 70 Tyler, rushing to the end zone unobstructed. Jay grinned and said, "Nice fake out." Impressive. I didn't even see when he passed the ball to the running back. Tyler reached the end zone, and the whole audience cheered. The referee announced, touchdown, and the Dolphins' score turned from 0 to 6. So, what's it going to be, a kick or a play? Jacob asked Edward with a heavy breathing as he grabbed Edward's hand and pulled him up from the ground. Edward held his ribs and grunted, He tackled me very hard. Also, we're going for a play. After scoring a touchdown, the team could try for an extra point. 1 point by kicking the ball from the 2 yards line into the goalpost, or starting a play at the 2-yard line for a chance to get 2 points. Edward checked the time, and they were at 14 minutes and 32 seconds. They have only 1 play left before the first quarter ends. The team faced off 2 yards behind the end zone. In the audience, Phil narrowed his eyes as he tried to watch the game clearer and said, "Wait. They are not kicking it? Why not? Doing a play is very risky." No one could answer him. Suddenly, Alex, who appeared out of nowhere, explained, "It's simple. Their team doesn't have a kicker." Well, Edward can do it, he's an all-rounder. But it will be hard for them to catch up on the point afterward. Claire widened her eyes. "Alex, when did you get here?" "From the beginning," Alex said as she munched on some popcorn. "Haley, Tara is sitting with us." Haley nodded and said, "I was looking for her. Let's go there." Enid, Jenna, Elsa, Phineas, Billy, Abraham were all there rooting for Edward. Even Sage and Mrs. Henderson were in the audience, watching the game. Even Selena came there after finishing her medical checkup. "Set, HUT." Edward shouted. Jacob snapped the ball to him, and then clashed with the other team's defensive line. But this time, 2 of them were pushing on Jacob. In a one-on-one confrontation, he could still take it. However, he failed to defend this time. The defenders rushed to tackle Edward, and when they were a foot away, Edward made a short pass to Tyler, who then breached the defensive line and scored the point for them. The referee blew the whistle and awarded the team with the point, touchdown. The crowd cheered, but Haley was anxious and fearful for Edward. "He got tackled again," she said with dissatisfaction. "Hey Jacob, do your job better," Haley shouted into the field. The referee blew the whistle for the first quarter. The score now is 20-8. Edward's team was still in the offense role, and the second half of the game started after a short break. Manny's commentary: "I had to fight a girl in my next match, but Edward is being a hero on the football field," Manny said with some slight dissatisfaction. He shook his head and said, "Personally, I don't like American football. Not only is it confusing for me, because in Colombia there's another type of football, but it is called soccer here, but I just don't like senseless violence." The video cuts to Manny shouting euphorically as Edward's team scored a touchdown. Back to the commentary: "It's just not elegant." The camera cuts again to the sight of Manny shouting profanities in Spanish to the referee after he saw Edward getting tackled. Back to the commentary, the rules don't even make sense, but why? I don't know why there is a tingly feeling in my heart, and a wisp of dissatisfaction when I saw Edward out in the field like that. Did he take my moment to shine? Of course not, he plays a whole different game. So, it left me with just one possibility. The screen changed into Manny staring at the cheerleaders with the short skirt chanting for Edward. Edward. Newgate. When you see him, it is too late. The cheerleaders chanted. Edward. Newgate. Give up now, for your own sake. Back to the commentary, it's the girls. Commentary ends. That wraps up this part of What If Karmic Gacha System in Modern Family World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Quick reminder. The series What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these 3 fanfics. What if Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge? What if Transmigrated to Medieval Pokemon World? What if creating the strongest Strawhat crew by reading manga? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.